Good morning, everyone. Um, Welcome to another CISSP session. In this session, we will discuss ideal framework. So, ideal framework is also very important framework, and we may see one or two question related to this particular framework, right? So, first of all, we need to understand the the objective of this framework. So this is a continuous improvement life cycle that can be used for software development, IT changes, or business process improvements. It helps organization analyze, plan, implement, and refine solution efficiently. As you can see in this image or in this diagram that there are five main stages. This framework consists of five main stages: initiating, diagnosing, establishing, acting, and the last one is learning, right? Each stage helps in understanding the problem, implementing a solution, and continuously improving it, right? So in every framework we emphasize continuously improvement. So once the cycle is complete, then the last step is always learning, right? And learn for the future, right? So continuous improvement is something which we need to consider the future improvement. The feature we were uh, unable to cover in in this cycle. So that learning is very important. So initiating, what happens here? Identify the need for change. So in this particular phase, we need to identify the need for change. So let's assume whether we are going to build a new software, right? Or process improvement, or security upgrade, or software upgrade. So it could be anything, right? So I'm trying to paint the scenario here, right? So where it can be implemented. So therefore, I'm telling you a couple of use cases or business cases where we can use it, right? So initiating phase, we need to identify the need, right? The need of the software, the need of the business case or use case, right? Once that is identified, then get stakeholder buy-in, approval from decision makers like managers, executives, or client. And this is very important. In my practical environment, I have seen multiple times those projects or those business cases or those use cases where you don't get proper approval from decision makers, managers, executives. Those projects or use cases are most of time failed because higher management support is always needed. Without their support, it is very, very difficult or almost impossible to complete any project, right? So therefore, get stakeholder buy-in, their approval, their decision making, and also it is very important to understand the need of that use case or that project, right? Otherwise, it would be very difficult to continue with any project. Most of time, the chance there is highly it's almost impossible that you can complete it. It's highly unlikely. And now, in this initiating phase, then you need to set up a governance. Who is responsible for what in that project? So, roles and responsibilities need to define. Who is responsible for what? The key stakeholder, right? That also needs to be identified in this initiating phase, right? So, what could be real world example? For instance, a company wants to improve its online payment system. The IT team discusses it with management, right? As we discussed that we need management approval, right? Need to tell them the need of this business case of this project. So the IT team discusses it with the management, they define, and then next thing would be they define the roles, developer, security analyst, tester, right? That also needs to be defined, right? Governance needs to be set up, meaning they establish roles, policies, and responsibility for the project. Right now, we are set for the initiating phase. Now, the next step would be diagnosing, right? So, identify, for instance, we identify current problems in the system and we compare it with the desired state, how the system should work after improvement, right? Analyze gaps, what needs to be changed or improved, right? So here we're doing diagnosis. So what should be the ultimate goal? What should be the desired state? What are the, if we are um, working on the system which already exists, right? So it has a current, definitely it has some current issues or problems which needs to be addressed, and um, we need to discuss the desired state, and how the system should work once that improvement will be done, right? So real world example, for instance, if the payment system is too slow and fails during peak hours, the team analyze logs, user complaints, and transaction failures, right? So this all failures issues needs to be analyzed, right? So they realize that they need better server infrastructure and improved security. So security goes hand in hand. As soon as we improve our infrastructure, we are not supposed to forget security. Security should be baked in rather bolted on. So security is never afterthought process. Once we decide to improve our infrastructure, once we decide to upgrade our system, so we need to consider that security should be improved should be improved as well, right? As a security guy. So therefore, this is we always hear that CISSP is a mindset, right? So we need to make sure that security should not be afterthought, right? So that needs to be considered right in the beginning. So security, when you start building something new or when you start changing something, then security should be considered from very first day, right? Once one, if the product or system or infrastructure is, let's say, completely built, and then we start thinking about security, that will be a big mess, right? So need to be, security needs to be considered from very first day. Now the third stage would be what happens here: set priorities, right? Which issues are most critical to fix first? Prioritize what needs to be fixed first in this particular priorities. Important. Okay, so priority, what needs to be fixed first. Develop an approach. What technology, process, or framework will be used? Yes, here we also need to decide which framework, which process, which technology needs to be used. Plan actions, who will do what. So That is very important. Roles and responsibility. Who will do what? Okay. And when. So, real world example, the IT decides to migrate to faster cloud based payment system. They prioritize security improvement first, right? Then performance upgrade. A roadmap is created with deadlines and responsibilities, right? So here also deadlines can be discussed, right? We are now establishing in phase. Now the next phase is acting. What happens here? Implement the solution. So now we are going to implement the solution, right? Start development, right? Upgrades, testing, run pilot tests, small scale testing before full deployment, refine the solution, fix issues found during testing, right? So once you will implement, you will you will perform testing, then you will find some issues that needs to be fixed along the way, right? Refine the solution if you find some issues while performing testing. Real world example, the IT team deploys a new cloud based payment system. For instance, they test it with 1,000 or 10,000 users before launching it for the customer. Based on feedback, they fix bugs and improve performance, right? So that all will happen during the acting phase. The last would be learning phase, as we discussed in the beginning of this video. That is very important phase where we analyze, validate what worked well and what did not, and propose future improvements. This is a cycle. In the end, we always discuss what we have learned during this project and what needs to be improved in upcoming upgrade. And it's a kind of continuously improving, right? For instance, real world example, the IT team monitors the new system. They notice some users face login issue, right? And they fix it and plan future optimization for a better experience. Then again, we start from initiating, diagnosing, establish, acting, learning. This cycle will go on and go on. This framework ensures proper planning before starting a project, efficient implementation with testing, continuous improvement to keep system up to date, and yeah. So I mean, with the CISSP exam, if we just remember ideal, so then uh, we can map I with initiating, D we can diagnosing, E establishing, A acting, and L learning, right? So the ideal life cycle, primarily a process improvement and change management framework rather than a standard software development life cycle. It was originally developed by the Software Engineering Institute, I guess, to guide organizational improvement programs. For example, helping companies improve their software engineering as part of CMMI initiatives. In practice, this framework is used for broader IT change initiatives such as improving processes, infrastructure, or risk management practices rather than day-to-day steps of coding and testing in single software development project. In other words, Ideal provides high-level roadmap for implementing change in an IT organization, whereas typical software development projects use methodologies like agile, or waterfall for building a product. Um, I hope you have understood about Ideal framework. If you have any question, comment, feedback on this topic, kindly share in the comment section. Once again, thanks for watching this video.